The treasure was divided, but what each of them carried home was far more than gold. Time has a quiet way of closing chapters. Weeks turned into months after our return. The gold had been counted, divided, and secured. Each of us stepped back into ordinary life as if we had only been away on a long, strange dream. Yet nothing felt entirely ordinary anymore. The squire threw himself into work with renewed energy. Repairs to his estate began immediately. Workers came and went. Land was bought. Debts settled. He spoke often of future stability, as though the wildness of the voyage had convinced him that comfort was something to build carefully, not take for granted. Dr. Livesey resumed his medical rounds without fanfare. Patients greeted him with relief. To them, he had simply returned from a journey. They saw only the calm, steady doctor. They did not see the man who had walked through jungle under fire, who had faced down mutiny and lived to speak of it only in private. Ben Gunn struggled the most. For years he had lived alone, surviving day to day, thinking only of food and safety. Now he possessed more wealth than he had ever imagined. At first he spent carelessly, small comforts, new clothes, warm meals. Then, slowly, he settled. With guidance and patience, he began to find a rhythm in ordinary life. It did not come easily, but it came. As for me, I found that quiet moments carried the loudest echoes. I returned to the inn, to familiar walls and familiar paths. The cliffs still overlooked the sea. The wind still carried the scent of salt and distant storms. Yet I no longer felt like the boy who had once stood there dreaming of faraway places. I had seen those places, and I had learned something about them. Adventure, I realized, is not made only of danger and excitement. It is made of choices, of courage in moments when fear feels overwhelming, of standing still when running would be easier. The treasure I kept in a small chest did not change my life as much as I expected. It made things easier, certainly, but it did not fill my thoughts. What filled my thoughts were memories. The sound of waves against the hull, the crack of muskets in the trees, the strange calm of the hidden cave filled with gold, and the careful voice of a man who survived by wit alone. Long John Silver. Sometimes I wondered where he had gone, whether he had found a new port, a new name, a new story to tell. Men like him are not easily forgotten, and they are rarely caught. Perhaps that is their greatest skill. One evening, months after our return, I walked along the shore near home. The sun dipped low, turning the sea to molten gold. The horizon stretched wide and open. I realized then that I did not feel the same pull toward it as before, not because the sea had lost its mystery, but because I had found something else: perspective. I knew now what lay beyond the horizon: beauty, danger, betrayal, friendship, survival. I knew that stories were not always grand adventures. Sometimes they were quiet returns. The island would remain in my memory, a place where boys became something more, where gold mattered less than the choices made in pursuit of it, where survival depended not only on strength, but on understanding the nature of the people around you. Time moved on. The world did not pause for our story. Ships sailed. Storms came and went. Taverns filled with new tales. Somewhere, perhaps, Silver sat among strangers, spinning his own version of events, leaving out the parts that did not suit him. That was his way. And in a strange way, I respected it. We had all taken something from the island. The squire took responsibility. The doctor took perspective. Ben Gunn took a second chance. And I I took the understanding that not all treasure can be weighed or counted. Some of it is carried quietly, in memory, in caution, in the knowledge that once you have faced the unknown, you never see the world in quite the same way again. The sea stretched out before me that evening, calm and endless. I stood there for a long time, watching the horizon as the light faded, not waiting for another adventure, simply remembering the one that had already changed everything, and knowing that some stories, once lived, remain with you long after the last page is turned.